meeting of the Harlingen City Commission, which has been duly posted to order, and call upon Commissioner Ruben De La Rosa to lead us in an invocation.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussions, allowing us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of the community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that may affect the community. Continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth and the greater glory of you and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everybody to our meeting tonight. We're glad to have you here. Thank you for coming out. And this time we have item 1 on the agenda is a special recognition. I'd like to call Sergeant Major Ford Kinsley forward and bring your cadet and anybody else from the Keep Harlingen Beautiful Board if they would like to come up here. We'll recognize them. Come on up here. And we want to recognize our Marine Military Academy cadets. Sergeant Major Kinsley may have something, but getting them to volunteer for things.
Yeah, we'll give it to them.
Really, for decades, really, Marine Military Academy has been such a great partner in our community and a great part of our community. And these cadets learn about public service and serving their community by doing lots and lots of service projects, usually to benefit the city of Harlingen. So on Saturday, August 25th, 11 of the cadets from Marine Military Academy helped the city of Harlingen Recycling Center under the direction of Sergeant Major Ford Kinsley. They were able to produce, listen to this, 1.5 bales of shredded paper, 1 bale of shrink plastic wrap, and 1 bale of plastic #1 water bottles. They also sorted through 42, that's 96-gallon recycling containers that weighed approximately 100 pounds each, and that is the equivalent of approximately 2.1 tons of recyclable material. They also helped sweep and clean the entire recycling center, and they left it looking great and better than they found it, and we really appreciate the great effort put in by the cadets and the leadership of Sergeant Major and of course Sergeant Major serving as the president of Keep Harlingen Beautiful, and so we appreciate the dedication that he has given to that organization and all the great projects that they've been doing for us. And so I want to present a special recognition certificate to Cadet Maxwell Fortin. Cadet, thank you very much, and we would like to distribute these to your fellow cadets who also helped: Adrian Blanca, Dylan Devine, Nicholas Guajardo, Daniel Capitan, Joshua Piastro, Alejandro Salazar, Sheila Yang, Nathan DeForest, Jefferson Kwong, and
Just call it Devo.
Jose Devo Ogunjini. All right, thank you very, very much.
Can you just take one step this way, please?
Thanks, sir.
Next item on the agenda is a presentation by Assistant City Manager Carlos Sanchez on the recent rain events.
Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to come before you and brief you on the events that we have experienced here. Needless to say, it has tested our critical infrastructure, which is drainage. However, as an engineer, background in hydrology or water resources, I'd say that, in my opinion, our storm sewer system fared well. However, I mean, there was, in the storm of, during June 18th, 21st, or June 18th through June 21st, there was some homes that experienced some damage. I believe the number was 42 homes. And so that tells us that there's still work to be done. There's an infrastructure that we have that that has some deficiencies, and I'm here to kind of maybe present them to you and let you all know where we can move forward, or how we can move forward. So real quick, I just want to give you all a summary. Again, the event that we saw back in June 18th through June 21st, we saw about 16.85 inches of rainfall within a 72-hour period. We have several areas that saw the water levels go up to, and primarily on roadways, up to 4 feet or so. Classification, and I'll go into this a little bit more in a bit, is classified anywhere between a 100-year to a 500-year storm event. Then just a couple weeks ago, or last week, we got another storm event, dropped mostly on the east and northeast part of town, dropped about 3.79 inches of rainfall in a 1 hour period. We saw again some localized water on the roadways, some properties, and we classified that as a 25 to 50-year storm event. Real quick, I want to show you some photos, and I gave you all a printout of this. This was the Arroyo Colorado at the railroad bridge. They're just west of Business 77, taken June 20th. We saw high levels and high flows going through the Arroyo, and I'll get a little bit more into that also in a few minutes. As far as the capacity concerns that we have about the Arroyo. On the roadways and neighborhoods that we saw also some water on the roadways. A couple pictures that I provided to you is on Parkwood Road, directly being impacted by the Arroyo Colorado, 9th and Jim Hogg Street, 13th Street and East Van Buren. Again, these are all in the June 20th event. 9th Street and Polk Avenue. We saw some considerable amount of waters on the road. The September 12th event came to us during the nighttime hours, and so we weren't able to really appreciate or capture that impact with photos. But we did see again some areas, Morgan and Charles Street, for example, 24th Street and Lemoyne Gardens. It's another area that got impacted. Loop 499 FM at FM 507 and the 2400 block of Bowie Avenue. Again, like I mentioned, the events were classified as a 100-year, 500-year storm, and a 25 to 50-year storm event. And so the question many times that we get is why? What do we mean by that? As far as a 25-year storm event or a 100-year storm event, it's based, or it's more on probabilities. So probabilities is that any time that there's a storm event, there's a certain probability that we're gonna have a certain amount of inches of water fall in that general area that's being rained on. And so from a hydrologist, technical standpoint, a storm is characterized based on the intensity of the storm, how many inches. And when I'm talking about inches, we're talking about the rain gauge, how many inches you get in a certain amount of time, or in this case, inches per hour. The surface area that the storm covers, the characteristics of that landfall or that land area where the rain fell, for example, the soil type, whether it's pervious grounds like farmland, whether it's impervious like concrete, driveways, commercial areas and so forth. All this produces a runoff and it produces a flow that then impacts the drainage system. Long story short, the hydrologists over at the USGS, United States Geological Survey, have come up with a way of, or this table, which is the depth duration classification, and it's specific to a region. It's not necessarily across the board, across the state, and so it takes into account a lot of these factors, soil types, impervious cover, that type of stuff. It's all into one big soup, and it becomes, or they create this table. So in essence, for example, we're talking about a 100-year storm. If we get 4.5 inches in a 1 hour period, that storm event is classified as a 100-year storm event. Another example, if we get 3.1 inches in a 2 hour period, and this is pretty much continuously, then that's a 5 hour storm event. Like I mentioned, it's probabilities. Probabilities have to do with just that, meaning that there's a probability every time it rains, that if there's a 50% chance that it's going to be a 2-year storm. There's a 20% chance that it's going to be 5 years. There's a 1% chance that it might be a 100-year storm. So we might have a 1-year storm last month, like somewhat we did, or in June, and then close to another 100-year storm just next week or the week after. It's not that it's going to happen once every 100 years. What all this means, and basically, in a kind of narrow it down, is that we get a storm event. It falls over a land area, and so that area then has particular characteristics. It could be residential, commercial, mix. The rainfall has to travel to the gutters and to the storm sewer system and to the outfall. This outfall could be the Arroyo Colorado, for example. It could be a larger concrete box and so forth. At the end of the day, when all this water travels to the inlets and so forth, the system needs to handle a peak flow. The peak flow is what brings in, and it's from a designer standpoint, that's what we design for. The city of Harlingen, for example, we have a 5-year storm design, meaning again that there's a 20% chance, again, on the storm event happening every time it rains. But what that means is that every time it rains, there's a possibility that the storm sewer system may be overwhelmed, anywhere between a 10 and a 20% chance. So we design to that. If you want to increase your probabilities that you'll be able to handle it, but then you go to a design of a 10-year storm event. The majority of the cities in the valley, I believe, they design anywhere between a 10 and a 5-year storm event, because, again, the economics of it, the larger your design, the larger the pipes and the boxes that you have to install. And so you're talking about a capital improvement project of $53 million going to, say, $75 or $80 million for the same type of project improvements that may be necessary. And so things to keep in mind. You can cut me off whenever you want. Important notes is that the street gutter, the curb and gutter are all part of storm sewer system, meaning that it's not just the pipe system. We see water on the roads because the roads are used to convey that water. A system, again, like I mentioned, a 5-year storm event, which is what our storm sewer system's designed for, or we hope to achieve, has a 10 to 20% chance of it being exceeded in any given storm event. Maintenance is very important, and then the Public Works Department, and in collaboration also with the Drainage District and Irrigation Districts, takes into account that we need to maintain a storm sewer system in order to preserve that capacity that we have. And again, the condition of the receiving body, which again could be a drain ditch, it could be the Arroyo Colorado, depends on how the storm pipe that's discharging is going to function. If the Arroyo Colorado is it's running at high levels, then this pipe is not going to be able to push water into it. And like I mentioned earlier, in some instances, this water starts pushing back upstream into the street, like we've seen happen in the past in the areas of Parkwood subdivision. Having said that, I want to go through a quick narrative on how the city has prepared over the years, and we still moving forward. The 2008 drainage, the 2008 master drainage plan that was prepared pretty much laid the framework for a lot of the projects that have been built over the last 10 years, really. Over $13 million worth of projects have been constructed, and there's another $9 million worth of projects that we're currently actively seeking funding through departments like through FEMA or the Texas Department of Emergency Management. The study itself identified over $53 million worth of projects that needed to be addressed. This is a summary, and again, you have them on your paper, on the handouts that I handed out. I'm gonna kind of breeze through these because, again, you all have a copy of it. The number of the projects that have been built is almost $13.5 million worth of projects. This is a summary of the areas that have been addressed: the downtown drainage, Buchanan, Hayes Street, 32nd drainage, that's the Jefferson drainage, 3rd Street drainage, the northwest area, that's over by the PD, and it kind of goes, that's the project that goes back here to the Lozano, not falls into Wilson Road. The proposed projects that we're looking at, again, it's been about 5 projects worth, which is about $9.9 million. We have submitted those in the past, and we have submitted them again. There's one project here that's partially funded. That's the 9th and 13th Street Storm Sewer Improvement Project. This is in the area of Pierce Avenue. It's been funded for the hydraulic study. TDM has provided that. Again, there's a participation in the city, by the city. And the purpose of the hydraulic study is that we, from the hydraulic study, that's going to be used to justify and verify the need for that project in that area. So we feel strongly that that's going to be approved. We are currently in the process of working with TDM, getting a engineer to come on board and start doing the hydraulic study part of it. Again, that project has a price tag, and these are all estimates again, of $1.5 million, which the city would be liable for about 25% of that project. This is just summaries of the locations of those projects. I know one of the areas that has really been in our minds is the 13th Street drainage, the area by Christian subdivision just south of Loop 499. We've seen some flooding in those roadways. We've received several complaints from the residents out there. Gabriel's Landing, I believe, is the name of the subdivision. This subdivision right here is directly impacted by the water levels on the drainage here. And so the proposal is to widen the ditch so that the water level on the drain ditch itself comes down, and that allows the water from the subdivision to be pushed into the canal. Dixieland, 9th and 13th, 5th and 7th. Okay, 77th Street. So some important notes, again, on this regarding the proposed projects is that in order to be eligible for funding through TDM, there is a hazard mitigation action plan that's a 5-year plan
that's more of a regional type of approach between the city, the county, cities, counties, even drainage districts can participate. It's due to be renewed in 2020. In order for us to be eligible, this plan needs to be active, and so we're currently working on, we'll start working with the counties and through the emergency management coordinator, Chief Rubio, to coordinate with the other cities on this plan. We do recommend, again, it's been 10 years now that this master drainage plan was done. I'm recommending that we look at possibly looking at updating the plan, include new developments that have come in, annex areas, and also to update some of these construction estimates that are included. At the end of the day, the functioning, how the storm sewer system functions depends on the Arroyo Colorado. If the Arroyo Colorado is running at capacity or it's at high water levels, the storm sewer system's not going to be able to push water or discharge water into it. And so, quick summary: city manager, myself, we have had several meetings with representatives from the IBWC, and we have questioned their claims to the 21,000 CFS ability to push water. Excuse me, my mouth's dry now. The rain events that we saw in the past we saw 5,000 CFS or so impacting the city. So we question that the 21,000 CFS is not something that can be achieved. And so we, through these conversations, IBWC has agreed to do updated hydraulic studies on the Arroyo Colorado and come up with some recommendations on improvements and maybe even lower this CFS, the 21,000 CFS, 21,000 cubic feet per second. Excuse me. So we are waiting on that for them to come back. This is just wanted to share a quick photo of the divisor dike area where basically the water's kind of split between the floodway that hits the north main floodway and the arroyo. The area going this way goes to the Arroyo Colorado. This is I guess you could say the beginning of the arroyo. And this area back here is the floodway as it goes towards the expressway. This again just data of the flood itself. Our argument with the IBWC is that back when they did their hydraulic study and initially this was the condition of the Arroyo Colorado, open, nothing in it, no green vegetation. This is the reality today, so there's no way they can push 21,000 CFS in an area that looks like this. Or this, where development has somewhat kind of encroached. So again, we're working with them, and hopefully we will make some headway as far as addressing the need to move water along the north floodway instead of sending it down the Arroyo Colorado. Last item that I want to point out is, and it's not in our master drainage plan, and we see a great benefit is it is in our drainage plan, but it doesn't refer to the pump structure. Here's the IBWC floodway, Hickory Hill subdivision, areas in the county, TxDOT, all them kind of, and the drainage irrigation district, I believe, all drop water into this system. It functions fine when the gate structure here is open. If it's closed, then we need to find a way of pushing water over the levee in order to be able to preserve and help out the drainage issues that we have in the Hickory Hill subdivision and practically all this area that's here. So that's another item that we're going to look at seeking funds for. And there's a copy of or a picture of the gate structure. This is owned and operated by IBWC. And this is, at once upon a time, there was a gate pump structure that did the function of bypassing water over the levee. And history is unclear as to why or who took it out, but I think it's imperative that we bring it back in place. So that is my presentation, and I'm, I guess, available to answer any questions.
Carlos, how does the city work with Drainage District 5 in coordinating? I know they're always expanding and widening and adding new ditches.
Drainage District 5, as a matter of fact, Alan Moore is here present. We keep in close communications. I attend their board meetings too to kind of keep tabs as to what projects they have in mind and so forth. And so we are sharing information. One of the things that we want to do on this hazard mitigation action plan is to include them and their projects in that plan so that they also can qualify for some of the FEMA funded grants or projects.
I know they've done a lot of work in the last 10 years to increase the capacity. Those are all of the ditches that we're dropping our water into, basically.
That's correct.
As it leaves the city, it has to go into their ditches. So I know they're working to improve that, and whatever cooperation we can increase with them, and I'm sure we're already doing that, is a good thing. And like you said, if we can help them get grant money.
Definitely.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Well, I want to thank you for offering that report to us this afternoon. It's really a very excellent report, and I think one of the reasons why it was important, I think, for us to do this on the heels of these two weather events that we had in June and then last week is to remind everybody what we have been doing, that this is a priority for the city and always has been. And you can see the projects that have been done since 2008. Almost every single year, at least one or more projects that you all have worked up for us and been able to accomplish. And we've invested over $13.5 million in the last 10 years in improving our infrastructure to promote better drainage in the community. And the 2008 master plan also has given us the capability, as the city manager has pointed out to me today, to be able to secure grant funding because we have a plan in place, and it helps us, gives us a leg up to be able to obtain additional funding. The fact that we have $10 million worth of projects in the works that we're actively pursuing to continue to improve our drainage infrastructure also demonstrates the commitment that the city of Harlingen has to making sure that people can invest in this community and feel like they're going to have a community that's not going to have as many problems. I think if you look around, unfortunately, I think we did perform better than a lot of our peers have performed in the last two events. Knock on wood, and let's maybe we got lucky. Obviously, the people who had some damage, it's not much consolation, but I think it's important for us to remind everybody, because these kinds of projects aren't as glamorous as projects that get attention and get talked about. But the reality is, this is an important issue for the community. We have always been committed to improving this type of infrastructure, and we continue to. So I want to thank the staff for their continued efforts at making sure that we have this kind of infrastructure at the best level that we can do.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, we have item 3 next is the approval of the minutes for the special meeting of August 3rd, 2018, the regular meeting of August 15th, 2018, and the special meeting of August 22nd, 2018. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Mayor, on the August 15th minutes, under number 5, where we talk about the budget, there's some math errors in there that maybe we need to go back and correct about the size of the budget and a few other things that I think are just transposition errors, typos.
Okay. Can you make sure the city secretary gets those?
I'll look into it.
All right, any other additions or corrections? Then is there a motion to approve the minutes with those corrections?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Next item is item 4 through A through J, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved, Mayor. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 5 is consideration of possible action to approve the Keith Harlingen Beautiful budget for fiscal year 2018-19.
Good evening again. Sergeant Major Kinsley, the current president of Keep Harlingen Beautiful. I'm unaware of how this is supposed to be done, but I'm here this evening asking your approval of our 2018-2019 budget, which I'm assuming you have a copy of, as well as our summary. We are starting off aggressively with our annual National Make a Difference Day project, which will be going into in October, a very aggressive tree planting program we have planned for Lincoln and the Primera exit down off of the loop. We are intending, as always, to do 2 litter bashes each year, as well as our electronic waste event, and to be prepared for any beautification projects that you all, as city manager, decide that we need to get involved in. We are a little bit lean financially right now, we're aware of that, and but we're confident that with the assistance of the good folks in Public Works and getting our recycle center back online with the baler and so on, we're optimistic that we will be able to accomplish our mission of keeping the city beautiful.
All right, is there any, do you have any questions for Sergeant Major Kinsley on the budget? In that case, is there a motion to approve the Keep Harlingen Beautiful budget?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much to your board and
sir.
all that you do to keep Harlingen beautiful. Thank you.
Wrong, yes, sir.
Item 6 is consideration of possible action to approve a resolution adopting the Development Corporation of Harlingen's proposed 2018-19 budget. Adele?
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commissioners. We had our special meeting yesterday afternoon to review our proposed budget at the board level, and today we're here asking the City Commission to go ahead and approve a resolution to adopt the budget as was approved by the board yesterday. I'm going to go through some highlights on the program of work and a few highlights on the financials, but most of you all have seen most of this material before. Overall, we have revenues of $6.1 million approximately coming in next year, with transfers of $114,405 to make up a total of $6.278 million coming into our budget, and our expenditures will also be balanced at $6.728 or $278 million. Last year, we had our revenues, and it's actually this fiscal year that I'm talking about. So this current fiscal year that ends in September, our revenues will exceed our projections by at least $250,000. We had some good months, obviously, in sales tax revenues, and there were some other things that we did to control expenses that also added an additional $100,000 to our fund balance, rather than last year we had projected $700,000 shortfall. So we actually made an $800,000 swing. So that's a huge savings for us. Just going briefly through the program of work, I know that we've talked about this, and some of you all were at some of our meetings. But on the industrial end, for example, we're going to be working really hard to attract businesses into the industrial park. We had an announcement last December that really was going to rock the world for us, and unfortunately things happened in that company that slowed things down for them. So we're going to try some other things with that property. It is ready to go in terms of it being shovel-ready, and so there are some programs out there that allow us to actually market that pretty heavily. So certified shovel-ready sites that AEP, for example, has is going to be one of the ways that we're going to be marketing the industrial park. We've also got some covenants, conditions, and restrictions that were in the deeds to the property owners that are the current property owners when they bought property out at the industrial park that really we haven't enforced heavily enough and over the past few years. And we've let it get to the point to where we're not the best looking industrial park in the valley. And we need to change that if we're trying to sell that product. And so we're going to implement some projects that will improve landscaping out there, but also put the burden back on the property owners and not the taxpayers and not our sales tax revenue budget as well. We're talking about doing a public improvement district much like downtown has done and has done very successfully, except this will be to do the landscaping and some other aesthetics and possibly some repairs to some of the road infrastructure and drainage infrastructure out there. In addition to that, we may implement some kind of incentive program to help some of those property owners move along and get with the program. We also have over 65 acres right off of Roosevelt Road in the interstate that we're going to look at evaluating the need for site improvements there so that we can make those shovel-ready as well. So we're going to continue to market industrial properties that are here in Harlingen. We'll work with existing property owners that are trying to fill their properties or sell their vacant properties. And we really do want to look at enhancing some of the infrastructure that we've done, that has been done out here in the city. For example, FM 509, TxDOT has been doing some improvements. It is designated an overweight corridor, but we need to be working on engaging engineering services to really look at the future of that road and how Los Indios Bridge is going to connect to the Outer Parkway and eventually through 509 and eventually into I-69. So we're going to try to engage some engineers to help the city and the MPO accelerate that approval process for some of those road improvements. We'll continue marketing the Aerotropolis property. It's 480 acres that are out there on the east side of the airport. And we're working on developing either a spec program or an incentive for private investors to build spec space for industrial use. If you look at the industrial market in Harlingen, we don't have a whole lot of Class A space available. And the Class B and C space that's available is typically not what the major employers and major corporations are looking for. And so, and they're in smaller increments. So we're going to try to see if we can get some folks to build us bigger boxes so that we can fill it for them. And again, much of the success that the EDC in Harlingen has had is really been on focusing on growing the companies that are here. And so we're going to continue to work on business retention and expansion. We're going to work with the county, the city of San Benito, and of course the city of Harlingen to continue promoting Los Indios, continue targeting food processing and produce companies, automotive and energy companies, and continue to work with the federal officials and some other advocacy groups such as the Border Trade Alliance, Border Infrastructure Coalition, and Border Trade Advisory Council. We're also going to be exploring doing some trade missions into Mexico and attending some trade shows in Mexico to promote the bridge and to promote Harlingen, obviously. And possibly develop incentives program along with our partners there at Los Indios International Bridge for southbound traffic, which is really the ones that generate the revenue for the bridge. We will continue to work on foreign direct investment, FDI, attend Select USA annual conference. We attended that this year in Washington, D.C. for the first time, and actually generated some very good leads and are working with some companies still to potentially turn those leads into prospects and eventually, hopefully, into deals. We've also started working with an organization called Research on Investment, ROI, to help us develop leads, and we will continue to do that for the next year using some of their software and our manpower to go through the thousands and thousands of companies that are out there that are potential leads and prospects and sort those out and then actually make contact with them. And we will continue to work with Site Selector Guild and Industrial Asset Management Council events. Those are events where people who are actually making the deals, the bigger deals right now, usually attend. Either they're corporate real estate executives or they're consultants to those corporate real estate executives. And so we want to try to get in front of those guys. We're going to continue to try to expand on our relationships with UTRGV and TSTC to work on expanding educational opportunities, assist in the development of connectivity between the UTRGV campus that's currently there in the School of Medicine and the adjoining 35 acres that will eventually be what has already been announced, a Neuroscience Institute, and hopefully more than that in the future. We haven't really focused on doing a lot for commercial entities in terms of incentives. And although we may not set aside a whole lot of money, but we're going to start with about $100,000 in monies that we're going to set aside for commercial incentives, whether it's to assist companies that are trying to expand with their building permitting or some other permit and fees that they face when they are trying to go through the process with the city. We're going to try to look at that and get that going. But we want to make sure that we treat everybody fairly, so we're going to set up some ground rules first and then put that out in front of folks. In addition to that, we're going to work on trying to enhance our entrepreneurship spirit here in Harlingen by exploring partnerships with UTRGV, for example, on incubator space or on maker space and fab labs, virtual incubators, and with VentureX, which has already made a very large investment in some co-working space also, and trying to identify prospects for them as well. We're going to try to continue working with the Via Vista Mall, the new owners, and in redevelopment and marketing that property. And of course, our medical district, what we call the medical district is the area between Harlingen Medical Center and Valley Baptist, trying to enhance all the properties that are out there by just providing information for developers and reaching out and trying to identify folks who can use those properties and can even move into some of those facilities that might be vacant at that time. We've done so much in marketing thus far this year. We're going to continue to work on some of the digital marketing. We get to the point to where we're even geofencing certain events that we attend so that people can look at their mobile devices and actually see our ads and link to our websites, and thus hopefully get exposed to us as we knock on their booth doors, if you will. But we're also looking at continuing that trend a little bit more by establishing some visits to some of the major metropolitan areas in the state and then throughout the U.S. Where staff and board members and city commissioners, if you wish, would go attend and visit face-to-face with some site selectors and some of the companies that could be doing business in Harlingen or are actually headquartered somewhere else but doing business in Harlingen as well. And then we're going to have folks that are going to be working with the chamber, the city, the airport, CVB, and port, and coordinating efforts for marketing as well. We know, talking with Harlingen Waterworks, that there's a need for a gravity sewer line through our industrial park that will add in capacity for some of our tenants to be able to manufacture and produce more. And so we're looking at coordinating with them on that project. We have in the past worked with TSTC. Didn't do anything. With TSTC on workforce training incentives or initiatives, and we will continue to do that in the next year. Workforce Solutions Cameron has several grant opportunities where we can provide matching funds, and they get our folks ready for new jobs that are going to be coming into the area. One of the other things we need to do that's kind of an expensive thing from time to time is a labor market study so that we can have that information available to the companies that are seeking locations where there's a certain type of worker. And so we're going to identify what advantages we have and then try to exploit those as best as we can. And we continue to build our fund balance. We've talked about this many, many times, and I'll continue to talk about it until 3 more years, and then at that point, we can refinance bonds and have an even better cash flow than we have had. But that all takes resources. And over the last year, we had one of our employees move on to another city, and we had not filled that position all year long. And then, in addition to that, some of the things that we want to do requires adding on another person or splitting up some of the duties that one person is doing right now. And then we also recognize that the city is overburdened at the finance department, and so we've talked about trying to bring in a staff accountant in-house, and that's reflected in the budget. And so that's kind of the highlight of what we're doing and what we expect to do in the next year and the resources that are necessary to accomplish that. And I'm available for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Rodell? All right, is there a motion to approve the EDC budget?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. All right, thank you very much. Item 7, consideration of possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading amending the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinances, Article 16, Section 111 to 142, to reduce the composition of the Zoning Board of Adjustments from 6 to 5 regular members and from 6 to 5 alternate members. Article 16, Section 111 to 143, to clarify the authority of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and Section 111-444, to clarify the appeal of decisions by the Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. So we are looking at our CBA board in particular. Through some time now, this is a board that only meets as needed. And we were having some issues with the timing and reaching a quorum, so we got together after meeting with administration and getting together with our legal department, and we came up with a proposal for amending the Code of Ordinances that consists of 4 changes to the ordinance. The first change is the number of regular alternate board members is going to be reduced. Currently, there is 6 regular members and 6 alternate members, and the proposal amendment consists of 5 regular members and 5 alternate members. The appointees shall be selected on a rotating basis among the mayor and the commission in accordance with an administrative schedule kept by our city secretary. The quorum of the CBA was reduced from 5 to 4 regular or alternate members, and each case before the CBA must be heard by 75% of the members. Because of that, to pass any measure or take any action, the 75% rule to grant a variance does not change. However, since there is currently 6 members on the CBA and 5 concurring votes, we require that under the new proposal amendment that there will be 5 regular members, which require 4 votes to grant a variance. And then the last change is that there is a change on the number of times a variance may be considered. Currently, a variance may be considered a second time. After the second time, it is not approved. Upon a second submission, such request shall not be resubmitted for a period of 6 months. This process was inadvertently included when the Code of Ordinances was codified. Under the new proposal amendment, a variance cannot be considered a second time. Any appeal of the variance must be submitted to a district court within 10 days after the decision filed in the board's office. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions on this? And Rebecca, would you mind reading the caption, please?
Sure, Mayor. An ordinance amending the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinance, Article 15, Section 11-142, by reducing the composition of the Zoning Board of Adjustment from 6 to 5 regular members and from 6 to 5 alternate members, in Article 16, Section 11-143, to clarify the authority of the board, providing for publication and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 8, public hearing to consider an ordinance on first reading to rezone from not designated N district to general retail GR district for 10.54 acres out of Block 54, David and Stevenson Subdivision, located at the southwest corner of Loop 499 and Briggs Coleman Road. The applicant is Christine Vargas.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant is requesting to rezone the subject property from non-designated district to general retail for commercial purposes. The subject property is located southwest of Loop 499 and Briggs Coleman Road. The total tract size is 10.28 acres. The property is currently vacant and contains a drain ditch. Adjacent zoning is general retail to the north and west, non-designated to the east, and single-family residence to the south. The future land use plan designates the subject property area as mixed use. The request is consistent with the future land use plan. And on September 5th, 2018, the planning staff received a phone call in opposition of the rezoning request, stating concerns with objectionable influences that are associated with commercial uses such as noise, congestion, traffic, trash, and light pollution on the residential areas. At the meeting, we did have some other residents that actually came to the meeting, and they also voiced some concerns. The applicant was present, and even though she has not submitted to us the final plan that she has, she did verbally commit that it's going to be a child care facility. The Planning and Zoning Board and staff recommends approval of the rezone.
All right, does anybody have any questions? Any of the commission have any questions for Rodrigo on this?
Eventually, all of the loop at Cary will be commercial.
Correct, sir.
Yeah, so
It is consistent
item A
with
is
the
public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against this rezoning? Is there anyone? Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Go to item B, consideration possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading to rezone the above described property from non-designated N district to general retail GR district, and ask the city attorney to read the caption.
An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Harlingen, rezoning from not designated N District to General Retail GR District for 10.4 acres out of Block 54, David and Stevenson Subdivision, located at the southwest corner of Loop 499 and Briggs Coleman Road, providing for publication and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading?
Mayor, before we vote, I just got a brief question. The map that I have and the map that you have up there are a little different. You have brown, which means mixed use.
Right.
Okay. That is the current, what it is today.
Right, so this is the current what it is now. This is what the future land use was planning.
That's the
for
future
that
land
area.
use.
That is
I
the
just want to
future
make sure
land
that,
use. Right, so-
as Commissioner Mesmar just pointed out, eventually 499 will become a very business-oriented street.
Right. So our
For the
future land
record.
use for that has mixed use because we are anticipating mixed use.
Perfect. Okay, Mayor.
All right, is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on
So
first
moved.
reading?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 9, public hearing to receive comments regarding the proposed voluntary annexation to establish the initial zoning to residential single-family R1 district for 8.95 acres out of Block 35, Petersburg Syndicate Subdivision, located on the east side of Park Lane East, north of Spur 54. Applicant Dustin Moore of Moorland Surveying, LLC.
Thank you, Mayor.
Rodrigo?
If the commission recalls, we had brought this before. We're going through the stages of the public hearing to propose. Again, the applicant is proposing to subdivide subject property into a one-lot residential subdivision under the name of Dominguez Subdivision. Part of the proposed subdivision is .016 acres. It's currently inside, which would be right in this area right here, connecting. And then the east 8.95 acres is located outside the city limits and is currently landlocked. The Dominguez subdivision will have a frontage on Park East Lane. The developer is responsible for all infrastructure provisions, including street development, street lights, water, wastewater, stormwater, and other requirements as specified by the subdivision regulations. P&Z and staff is recommending approval. Actually, there is no approval needed on this one because it is just a public hearing.
All right, this is a public hearing to receive comments regarding the proposed voluntary annexation. So I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone who would like to speak for or against this voluntary annexation. All right, hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing, and there's no action to be taken on this item. It's simply a
Correct.
public hearing. So item 10 is a public hearing to consider an ordinance on first reading to amend the plan development PD site plan from commercial to multifamily residential for Lot 1, Block 3, the Adams Landing subdivision. The applicant is Armando Elizalde.
Thank you, Mayor. The subject property is currently vacant. The lot is part of Adams Landing subdivision, which is a planned development subdivision consisting of 50 garden home lots on the interior streets of 2 commercial lots along the frontage of Loop 499. There is an existing 3-foot non-access easement on Loop 499, thus access to the property is on Adams Landing Avenue and Legacy Lane. The building setbacks for the proposed multifamily lot would be 20 feet in front and 10 feet on each side and rear setbacks. The surrounding properties are zone plan development districts for garden homes to the north, general retail to the south and west, and non-designated to the east. The future land use plan shows this area as low density. Although the request is not consistent with the future land use plan, it is a lower density intense land use in the current designated use of the property. And the planning and zoning and staff recommends approval.
Item A is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing, ask if there's anyone who'd like to speak for or against this proposed amendment. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing, go to item B, which is the consideration of possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading to amend plan development PD site plan from commercial to multifamily residential for Lot 1, Block 3, the Adams Landing subdivision. I ask the city attorney to read the caption, please.
An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Harlingen, amending the planned development PD site from commercial to multifamily residential for Lot 1, Block 3, Adams Landing subdivision, located at 1402 East Loop 499, providing for publication and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 11, public hearing to consider an ordinance of first reading to rezone for planned development PD district to light industry, a light district for Lot 1, Block 1, Dollar Thrifty subdivision located at 3410 East Grimes Avenue.
Thank you, Mayor. There's an existing There's an existing 1,240 square foot building which was previously used as a car rental business. The property has 259 feet of frontage on Grimes Avenue and a depth of 295 feet. Grimes Avenue is a 40-foot wide road. The property was zoned to Plan Development District in 1989, which restricted it to a car rental business. The applicant is applying or requesting a rezoning for a proposed repossession type of business. The future land use shows this area as employment center. The request is also consistent with the land use in the area. Planning and zoning and staff is recommending approval.
Rodrigo, do we know why they did it PD back then?
No, sir. I think they were probably trying to just monitor the type of business that it was, and that's what fit, so that they wouldn't be doing other types of businesses. I'm not sure. That's what staff has told me, the one that have been here longer.
Okay, I'm going to go to item A then and open the public hearing. Ask if anyone would like to speak for or against this rezoning. Is there anyone hearing? No one. I'll close the public hearing and go to item B, which is consideration of possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading to rezone land development PD district to light industrial district for Lot 1, Block 1, $1.50 subdivision located at 3410 East Grimes Avenue, and ask the city attorney to read the caption, please.
Okay, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Harlingen, rezoning from Planned Development PD District to Light Industry LI District for Lot 1, Block 1, Dollar Thrifty Subdivision located at 3410 East Grimes Avenue, providing for publication and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
All right. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 12, consideration possible action to grant a variance with regard to 100 feet of right-of-way required for the minor arterial street on the proposed replat of Lot 1, Block 1, Casa, Blanca Subdivision, located at 1510 North Commerce.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant is requesting a variance to the 20 feet of additional right-of-way required for Commerce Street on the proposed re-subdivision due to the fact that the area developed and the required right-of-way would cut into an existing building that's already there. The proposed re-subdivision consists of one lot being replatted into 3 smaller lots. The original lot is currently occupied with a multifamily units and 2 commercial buildings. The southmost commercial building, which is used as a bar, is 4.1 feet from the property line. The right-of-way, if the right-of-way is dedicated, it would cut into the building itself. Commerce Street between Murkowski Avenue and Washington Avenue is a 52.5 feet back-to-back with a 60 feet of right-of-way. The engineering department has reviewed the request and is recommending approval. The subdivision is halfway through pending this variance to continue, and there is no case history variances of the right-of-way requirements from Commerce Street in the surrounding areas. Staff recommends approval of the variance request based that it does meet the hardship because it would be in the building itself. The request complies with the findings outlined in section 109.27 of the Code of Ordinances. There is hardship in the case that the area along the Commerce Street is developed, which would prohibit acquiring the additional right-of-way needed to expand the existing right-of-way, and the engineering department also recommends approval.
Does anybody have questions on this one? Is there a motion to grant the variance?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Rodrigo can go sit down now. That's good. You know, I like it when Rodrigo's standing there for a long time. So it means that stuff is happening out there. That's a good thing. Item 13, consideration and possible action to award RFQ 2018-10 professional engineering services to qualified firms and authorize the city manager to enter into a professional services contract with such firms as projects arise.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. On August 19th, City issued a request for qualifications for firms licensed with the state of Texas to provide engineering services. A total of 17 qualified firms responded, and all firms were ranked and evaluated by staff. Staff is recommending the top 4 respondents for a rotation list of period of 3 years. Staff recommends approval.
Is there a motion to approve the staff's recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 14, consideration possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading to create an all-way stop sign condition at the intersection of Dixieland Street and Garrett Road.
Yes, currently Dixieland and Garrett Road is a two-way stop on Garrett Road. There's been some concerns with traffic on Dixieland and Garrett. We went out there, did some traffic counts, checked any traffic accidents, pedestrian counts, and none of them were warranted. But there's a section in the manual that states that if the engineer feels the line of sight is not there, we can convert it to an all-way stop. Went out there, evaluated the area. The 2 homes on the north side of Garrett, there's no right-of-way, so there's fences so you can't see oncoming traffic on Dixieland. So that triggered the always stop. Staff recommends approval.
It also has a pole.
Pole,
There's a
yes,
pole
sir.
there. And that pole's been there.
What triggered this is that one afternoon, I think it was a Friday, two individuals are going south on Dixieland, and one of them lost control of the vehicle, took out a telephone pole, and so I got the call. And when we did the construction there, we had a four-way stop, and everybody noticed that it was so much, traffic flowed better, because if you're supposed to stop where you're supposed to stop, according to Texas law, you stop, and you then have to nudge out about 10 feet to be able to see the oncoming traffic.
Yeah, but
And
that's
so-
always been a concern, because I've been on that, where you have to like creep up on it.
Yeah.
And there's no way to warrant like a light, or an actual light, or is that obviously a costly?
Yes, I mean, there's several scenarios that we can do. It's all within
Because
budget and
my
cost.
concern with the just putting a stop sign as opposed to construction, it's, I always bring the example of the mall, where you take that loop to go down the frontage road. People still stop there today, because for the longest time, there was a stop sign, you know?
I know that I've seen certain locations, because I always have a concern when you've had no stop sign for 50 years, and then you put one up, people are used to driving it, and they don't stop. And I've noticed that they have stop signs that have the edge of the stop sign outlined in red LEDs that are solar powered. And I don't know how much those cost, but if I was going to put up something where there hadn't been one before, I would consider doing something like
We're
that.
actually going to add some signs and give like a certain amount of time before it's implemented, so you can get used to it. We're also going to put stop ahead signs, and you could put a flashing beacon, stop ahead sign with a solar panel, and those run about, for all four sides, about $8,000. So we're looking to the best means and method to make the motorists aware of the intersection.
Right, because you also have the baseball fields out there now, and that road now goes all the way to.
It's starting to get busier and
Yeah.
busier, because you can now go from the mall all the way to
Rangerville Road.
almost San Benito now. The other thing we did, I don't think you were with the city at the time, but we had the same similar situation behind HEB.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
so I had requested we put some orange flags out there just to warn people. And so, yeah, I agree with you. When you do something like that, and especially it's not super well lit, people may miss the stop sign.
Are we going to use large stop signs, or are you going to put the regular ones?
36 by 36. I'll look for further into it. I can put a larger one on Dixieland.
Okay.
Okay. I can ask the city attorney to read the caption then, please.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance authorizing the placement of 2 stop signs on Garrett Road in each direction of traffic at its intersection with Dixieland Street, creating an always stop condition, establishing a fine not to exceed $200 for the driver of any motor vehicle who fails to stop and yield the right-of-way in obedience to the stop signs herein authorized, amending or repealing conflicting ordinances, providing for publication, and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
When do we planning to start this?
As soon as it's, I guess, the second reading, and they'll probably give like a two-week grace period,
Okay,
and then we'll get the four-way stop going.
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay, item 15 is consideration and possible action to accept or reject bids for the re-roof construction of Fire Station number 6 and 7 under bid number 2018-11, and authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with the successful lowest bidder of the year.
Yes, Mayor, good evening, Commissioners. Well, we bid this out in August 2018. We received 4 bids, and the lowest bidder is Argio Roofing out of Riondo, and for the amount of $116,977 for the total roof at, including the fire station number 6 and fire station number 7. Staff checked the references, and we found no concerns or no issues, and staff is recommending approval on this one.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff's recommendation and award and accept the bid?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, like sign. The motion carries. Item 16, consideration of possible action to approve the public services contract with the Boys and Girls Club of Harlingen for fiscal year 2018-19 in the amount of $115,757 for teen service programs, and authorize the city manager to sign the contract.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, this is the identical contract that we approved last year for the Boys and Girls Club, and the amount is $115,757. The amount is budgeted, and staff is recommending approval.
Okay.
Motion for approval.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 17, consideration of possible action to approve a contract with the Boys and Girls Club of Harlingen for fiscal year 2018-19 in the amount of $90,104 for the youth service programs, and authorize the city manager to sign the contract.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is the same thing. This is for the youth service program with the Boys and Girls Club in the amount of $90,104. And staff is recommending approval, and the money is budgeted as well.
Motion for approval, Mayor.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 18, consideration of possible action to approve a contract with Don Van Ramhorst Jr. to operate, manage, and supervise the HEB Tennis Center for fiscal year 2018-19, and authorize the city manager to sign the contract.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, this is the renewal contract with Don, which is our HEB Tennis Pro, and it will be for 1 year, and the terms are the same, $2,000 a month, and then we share some of the revenues, is 75-25. Staff is recommending approvals.
Motion for approval.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 19, consideration of possible action to approve the fire protection service contract between the city of Harlingen and the city of Primera to provide fire protection services at a cost of $122,150.90, payable in quarterly installments of $30,538.22, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. The rate for fire protection services for the city of Primera is 0.10 cents per 100 valuation based on the city's 2018 certified net taxable value of $122,152,957. The city of Primera has reviewed their contract and has signed an agreement with the stated provisions. Approval of this contract will ensure fire protection services to this community for the agreed upon compensation of $122,152.90, payable in quarterly installments of $30,538. For the following dates: December 31st, 2018, March 31st, 2019, June 30th, and September 30th of 2019. Staff recommends city approval. City of Harlingen approve the FY 2018-2019 fire protection services contract for the city of Primera as agreed upon.
Is there a motion to approve the contract with the city of Primera?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 20, consideration of possible action to approve the fire protection service contract between the city of Harlingen and the city of Palm Valley to provide fire protection services for a cost of $118,867, payable in quarterly installments of $29,716.75, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Again, Mayor, the rate for fire protection services for the city of Palm Valley is again 0.10 cents per 100 valuation based on the city's 2018 certified net taxable value of $118,670.867. The city of Palm Valley has reviewed their contract and signed an agreement with the stated provisions. Approval of this contract will ensure fire protection services to this community for the agreed upon compensation of $118,867, payable in quarterly installments of $29,716.75 on the following dates: December 31st, 2018, March 31st, June 31st, and September 30th of 2019. Staff recommends the city of Harlingen approve this FY 2018-2019 fire protection services contract for the city of Palm Valley as agreed upon.
Is there a motion to approve the contract with
moved.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Chief, thanks for getting those out again this year.
I notice in those contracts that we don't have the total valuation in the contract. It talks about the 122, but it doesn't talk about the 122 million. It's in the other part, but we might include that.
Okay.
It talks about the 10 cents in the other, but it doesn't talk about what the total value is.
We'll put that in there. We'll put it, thank you, sir.
Maybe for next year.
All right, very good. Thank you. Item 21, board appointments. Are there any board appointments?
I have none.
None.
No?
None.
And we'll go on to executive session, closed session on the following items. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 552.072 to deliberate, purchase, exchange, lease, or value real property, the deliberation of open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of the city of Harlingen for third party regarding acquisition of real property for the transit terminal expansion. B, pursuant to after 551, sections 087, 071, and 072, the government code regarding commercial financial information for business prospect with which the city is conducting economic development negotiations, whether to discuss or deliberate financial or other incentives of business prospect known as project development, and to seek legal advice from the city attorney on the subject matter, and C, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 552.0712, on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter of Texas Government Code Section 551.072 regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. If deliberation in an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of the city of Harlingen in negotiations with third party in Texas Government Code Section 551.0871 to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information the city of Harlingen received on business prospect, the governmental body seeks to have locate, stay, or expand the internet of the city in which the city is conducting economic development negotiations related to the operation of the university or articulation and career center. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the commission is going to be in executive session now, meeting with their attorney, and don't think that there's going to be any action on any of these items. So, thank you. 7:34? No, 7:34. And item 20, citizen communication, with nobody signed up. So that means we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.